What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Mint City Soccer Show. I'm Corey Inscoe, and I'm still here. They let me come back for another week. It's just a beautiful thing. And I know we talked about how the secret plan that we made very public was that we'd be kicking off David and bringing on Johnny to have the full-on Mint City coup this week. But we only got through half of that plan. We did kick off David, but we brought back Matt Swift. So how you doing, Matt?
I'm good, man. Thank you guys for holding it down when I was out.
Yeah, how was Charleston?
Oh, it was fun. I didn't get to do a lot of treasure hunting like I wanted to. The wife kind of mixed that, but no, it was a great time.
That's awesome. Well, let's dig right into it because like last week as well, we have a couple of matches to chat about as we get ready for yet another match on Saturday. It's been a busy month or so of matches. It's hard to keep up with even a weekly podcast schedule, but we had a couple matches that we're going to dig into. First, let's talk about the fun one first. The LA Galaxy 1-0 win for Charlotte FC back on Saturday, away win at the Galaxy. I know the Galaxy aren't very good this year, but I feel like anytime you can get out to LA and pick up that win, that was huge. How'd you feel about that one, Matt?
Yeah, I think you just said it. Like going out to LA, picking up, not let alone a point, coming away with a victory is huge. Especially on this road trip that we have. You got to come away with points where you can. Mm-hmm. LA is struggling, and that's the game that we won. So job done. I didn't think we played all that great, but who cares? We got the win, and that's all I care about right now.
Yeah, I believe I saw somewhere, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, I don't have that actually pulled in front of me. Was that the first time we've won back-to-back MLS road matches in our history? I believe I saw that stat somewhere. Yeah. Someone can tweet at us and tell me I'm wrong if I'm wrong on that. But I mean, to your point, I mean, like winning on the road is tough, and especially for our road record is probably not the strongest. So to go out and pick up a win like that at this point, we just need those points. I thought that was huge.
Yeah, anytime an East Coast team can go all the way out to the West Coast and pick up points, that's great. That's a lot of travel. That's time difference. Yeah, and with MLS, the way it works, you win all your home games and you're pretty much guaranteed to be in the playoffs. But it's always great to pick up away victories.
Yeah, I feel like the recurring topic of conversation we have about this team right now is about lineup and substitution choices. So real quick before we kind of move into anything else, but anything surprise you about the lineup, about substitutions, about kind of the formations, or anything that they did in that match?
No, nothing really stood out to me. I think Latanzio's hand is pretty much forced, especially these last two matches. And we'll get into what all we're missing. But yeah, nothing crazy that stood out. There's always some questions around subs and timing of subs, but mm-hmm. That's always up for debate when it comes to Latanzio.
That is very true. Yeah, I mean, I feel like you said, there's only so much we can do right now with the amount of injuries, the amount of people that aren't able to travel, that you're kind of stuck with a certain lineup. So, yeah. Anything else on LA you want to talk about before we jump to the midweek match, the one that just happened last night?
No, let's get into the Philly game.
All right. So we're spending very little time on the positivity and diving deep into the loss here. So I like where your head's at, Matt. So yeah, midweek, yet another away match, yet another midweek match, and we are the losers 1-0 to Philadelphia Union on a really, really unfortunate bounce off the back of Kalina's leg or arm. I can't remember exactly where it was, but it wasn't good. So yeah, where do you want to start with this one, Matt?
I'm gonna keep it positive. I tweeted this out last night and talked a little bit about it today in Slack and Facebook. I mean, look, you're on the road. You're playing a really, really good Philadelphia Union side. We are down a lot of players. Mm-hmm. Just we put out an article about this already, but I mean, let's just kind of talk through this. I mean, this is who we're missing. You're missing Enzo Capetti. You're missing Camille Yuzuyak.
Mm-hmm.
You're also, I mean, those are two DPs. Yuzuyak was in rare form,
Yeah.
really performing well. He goes down, and so that's two huge offensive threats. And then you also have Mackenzie Gaines that's out. You also have Ben Bender that's out. You're also missing two players that had some off the field drama that are midfielders and attacking players. So if I'm Latanzio and I look at my bench last night, you have Brandon Cambridge. Other than that, I'm looking around like I don't see really anybody else that can go get me a point or create a
Right.
chance or get a goal. So I think it was, there's been a lot of criticism on Latanzio. I've been critical of some of his tactics and
Mm-hmm.
subs and things like that. But I think last night was just a matter of we stayed in it, we played tough, we played a really informed team on the road, on short rest, and just got beat.
Totally
And
agree.
that's really all there is to it. I mean, I'm going to save my criticisms for Latanzio for other games and things like that, but I'm not going to be critical of this one. I've seen some posts about some timing of the subs and who was coming in for who, but
Sure.
again, at the end of the day, he threw on everybody that he could. I know Guzman Crujo came in for Justin Merrim, and I know that looks like a defensive, posture, but we go to a three back, just like that's exactly what Philly was doing,
Mm-hmm.
and it allows our wing backs to push up, and then we make the other changes. So in the end, I mean, he puts everybody out there. I mean, you look at the bench, and it was Chris Hagart, Sissinjega, backup goalkeeper, Jalen Lindsay, and Scardini, I think, from
Mm-hmm.
Crown Legacy kid. That was it. So who else would you put on instead of the people that were brought on? Um, so yeah, we're really depleted at the moment.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. And I was actually pleasantly surprised when I went onto the Twitter last night to just see kind of like right after the match, see what the general reaction was, because that's how I felt too. And I was hoping that people weren't melting down about this match, because I was like, there's a, obviously I don't want the team to lose. I'm not like, just settling for like, yeah, well, we just should lose that match. But yeah, there's a lot of factors going into that. Playing on short rest with a really depleted team with an incredible lack of goal scorers and attacking players available to us, playing against a team that doesn't give up a ton of goals, and especially when they're at home. So I get that. And again, sure, Philly had a ton of chances that they easily could have scored more on, but the actual goal that went in was a very just unlucky, fluky goal. And so, like, I mean, and we had our chances. We had a few here and there sprinkled in. So I can't be too mad about it. You could maybe ticky tacky about some of the sub choices and things like that, but to your point, I mean, I kind of said it before when we were previewing the LA match last week on the podcast. It was like, where do the goals come from? That's the biggest question. You've got I mean, Swiderski, Miriam, and Vargas is a good front line. Like, I'm not mad about that, but it's just, you're missing so many guys who've been so productive on this team this year that there's not really any depth there. And those guys I'm sure they're getting a little worn down playing 2 games a week for several weeks in a row. Schedule has not been kind.
Exactly. Yeah, no, and I look at Justin Merrim, and he has a game Saturday. He's playing Wednesday. He's got another game Saturday. He's 34 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He was not brought into this team to play every game, every minute. So he's having to stretch, right? Those older legs, and he's been great. But you got to be careful. And then, I mean, look at the options that we did bring in. You have Brandon Cambridge, who is a young young guy, just promoted up from Crown Legacy. He had a great 2-goal performance, but you can't expect that from him every single game. He's been phenomenal, right?
Yep.
But you just can't expect that. And then you have Patrick Agamain, also too young and brought in, and those are your options.
Yeah.
When you're down a goal. But I just think on the night it just wasn't our night, and that's
No.
fine. You're not going to win every game. There is so much parity in the MLS, and that's what I love about the league. It's not like any other league in the world where the top 2-3 teams every single year are going to be fighting for it or winning it, or in the EPL, like Man City's going to always run away with it. It's just sucks, especially as an Arsenal fan. So,
I was about to say, especially this year, it hurts a little bit, but yeah.
yeah, and sometimes, I mean, I got to be honest, that gets boring.
Yeah.
I actually love to see teams that are traditionally not great, get up there and fighting. But the great thing about MLS is, shoot, you never know who's going to win week to week. There's really never a team, maybe aside from LAFC, maybe, and you could throw Seattle or Cincinnati this year and there. Like, nothing's guaranteed.
Right.
So, but it just wasn't our night against a really good side.
Yeah, and I think to your point about Cambridge and some of those guys, if I'm looking for silver linings, which I tend to do, is, these guys who are young, promising players who've shown some real flashes are getting some quality first team minutes that hopefully will be beneficial down the road when, as they continue to grow, continue to develop, they have some experience playing out there with that first team that, they add to that depth as these guys come back and get healthy. And I think we were talking about this last week too, but you look at someone like Jan, who, really hadn't had many chances at, we talked about sometimes how we felt like, he'd really underperformed and we're a little disappointed in what he's brought to the team, but he's been able, just from sheer lack of attrition and lack of players, that like he's had a spot on the field and has performed, I think, pretty well. So there's some bright spots that, it helps build that depth a little bit, so that when these players come back from injury and we get back closer to that full health, it gives us some more options, gives us more depth as we get later into the season, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up Jan. I've been so pleased with him and impressed. I've seen it before where players get dropped or demoted or whatever you want to call it, and their headspace is just not there. They kind of give up, or they get mad and vindictive, and they never come back. Jan played a few games at Legacy, hung in there, has come back, and again, I think he's been very solid. I'm really pleased with him. Maybe should have started. I don't know. You bring him in,
Yeah.
He's got a great left foot. I think he was brought in later in the game to maybe jumpstart the offense from the back to play those balls forward. But it's kind of like, maybe do that from the beginning. So, and he has a pretty good record when he does start. So, or we have a pretty good record when he starts. So just something to think about there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I have a question for you, since you're definitely more tactical brained of the two of us, and so I like to play kind of the dumb fan role sometimes. But something they talked about a lot on I feel like it's been the last two matches they've talked about this, is the formation changes happening in the flow of the game, right? How Charlotte's been kind of playing like a, they'll play 4-back when they're on defense, and then, whether it be offload or whether it be someone else, kind of pulls into the midfield when they're attacking to go to what's like almost like a 3-back with another midfielder.
Yep.
And, early in the season, I feel like some of those things kind of made me nervous, but I feel like it's actually worked pretty well for them recently, the past couple of games, I feel like. And even, again, just kind of parroting what the announcers are saying, maybe even keeps another team off balance as they're having to kind of, figure out who's shifting where, who's doing what. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but yeah, it's just been interesting to see the way we've been changing formations, not just like changing with a sub and going to a 5-back or something like that, but really like mid mid flow of the game, depending on where the ball is, we've been kind of shifting positions. Thoughts, questions, concerns? Where's your brain on
Oh, I have lots of concerns, and it definitely keeps me off guard,
it?
and
Setting you
and
up for that.
and I hate it. So, um, because to me, when we have our right back, pinching in to play kind of like that dual six role with Derek Jones, I think that leaves the outside open
Yeah.
too much on counterattacks.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what game it was. Even the announcer, who of course, they don't do our games all the time. They even
Right.
said, like, if the opposing team could hit that first time ball into that space, we're doomed.
Yeah.
Luckily, we've been stopping that, but we're very prone and susceptible to that. I just think it's dangerous. I don't like it at all. I like it when we keep our shape. Yeah, and when we're talking about tactics and stuff like that, that's a tactic that I just don't like. It's clogging the middle. I don't think Jalen Lindsey was doing that a couple games ago,
Mm-hmm.
and he just doesn't give you enough going forward in that role. I like him starting. I just don't like him in the middle alongside of Derek Jones.
Right.
I just, but there's a bigger problem with all of this. That tactic could possibly work, but you have these two sixes. It's the problem is what we have in front.
Mm-hmm.
We still don't have a proper number 10, proper playmaker that can take the ball, turn, and make something happen and drive the ball. Even last night in this game, we don't play through the channels. We don't play through the middle of the field. Everything's out wide, out wide, out wide. And it slows the play down.
Yeah.
And it allows teams to get back and defend instead of just going through the channels. So the whole thing with pinching in and clogging the middle, that's great, but I still think that teams should be able to figure that out, and if they can get that ball out wide. And I think I think Philadelphia did that to a certain extent. They were playing some balls over the top into those kind of channels that I want us to play in. And luckily, there were a couple that were offsides. One looked really, really close. And I can't believe they didn't. I don't know. Maybe they saw a different angle than what we were seeing on TV. That it made it more clear, but it looked really close on one of those for sure. So yeah, I don't like it at all.
Kind of thought that might be the answer, but I'm going to throw it out to you. It was interesting watching the LA match, how they kept spinning it as a positive of like, they did, I think multiple times, say something about keeping them off balance and how they were doing it. And yeah, I mean, I'm not super comfortable with it either. I do feel like the past two matches, whether it's because the other team couldn't find the passes they needed to, or we played it a little bit better, it seemed to work a little bit better than I've seen it before. But I feel like it does leave us exposed, and it also, like, I think back to we talked about in the Open Cup match against Birmingham, like Milana getting a second yellow. I think that's part of that. He's out there on the wing trying to defend that guy, which is not where he should be. But It's because I don't know if it was Lindsey or who it was who had gone up and pinched in. So
it was Lindsey.
It leaves you on an island there with guys who are not necessarily suited or used to that role.
Yep. Absolutely. I was kind of furious when he picked up. Well, I was mad anyway that he picked up the second yellow because it was very stupid. But I was even more upset that he was even out there to start with. Quick note: I think we are third in yellow cards or second in yellow cards in the whole. Not in our conference, just in all of MLS.
That feels right.
And I think we're second or third in yellow cards, and then seventh with fouls committed. So that's not That's not great.
That's not great.
And I got to say, because we give Capetti a hard time for picking up yellow cards, but I'm getting really sick of Swiderski and Westwood picking
Yeah.
up stupid yellow cards. I mean, Westwood's a veteran; he's the captain.
Right.
It's got to stop. It really has got to stop.
Yeah, it's one thing to see that from your hot-headed Argentinian striker. It's like, all right, buddy, calm down a little bit. You know, like that's you don't want to see it, but like it fits the personality. But yeah, your experienced veteran, anchor of the team midfielder shouldn't be picking up, and that's doesn't surprise me at all that we're ranked that high. And it's also like the breakdown of how many of those are dissent or silly or delay of game or whatever you like, not actually like bad foul yellows. It's like stupid stuff we're doing like over and over and over again. Yeah, it's we're hurting ourselves. Like, what are we doing?
Well, I feel like those three players alone and Derek Jones.
Yeah,
I believe those guys have basically
all
gotten us where we are. I think Derek Jones is really high on fouls committed and yellow cards.
I can see definitely the fouls committed. I wouldn't be sure about yellow cards, but I can absolutely see fouls committed. We mentioned it briefly earlier, but you mentioned that Corujo came back on. How did it feel to see him, for you, back on the field for the first time in a long time?
I love it. I love him.
I do too.
I'm so glad he's back. I thought he played pretty good, man. Getting a couple of minutes under his legs. I know he played for Legacy, but that's a little different. Mm-hmm. It's just good to have him back. It's good to have his presence there. Always thought he was kind of level-headed as well. A good guy, funny. Just can't help but like him. So really, really cool to see him back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like there were multiple times last year, especially early in the season, we were talking. I mean, he was very often the best player on the field, like just so good back there. So it's great to see him back and hopefully continue to get healthy. I don't want to rush him back. It's great to see him on there, but let's take his time to make sure he's good and fully ready to come back on.
Yeah. Again, we posted an article on the website at mintcitysoccershow.com. Go check it out. But Corujo has missed 32 games in all competitions. Going back to this, players that we've been missing. And, the article was kind of basing around like, hey, let's put everything into perspective. Here's what's happened to us. We've had a lot of like unfortunate things go not our way. So, and he's one of those things, out 32 games. That's and not having him around, not having him on the field. I mean, he played and started every game up until that. So it's really good to have him back.
All right. So with that, I think it's about time to dive into some listener questions. What do you think, Matt?
Let's do it.
All right. So here we go. I'm just going to do it from the top, from which you sent me, Matt. I haven't looked at these at all before. I'm about to read them live. So, hopefully there's no profanity or anything that I have to try to avoid as I'm reading this live, but we'll see. So from @ZachMac on Twitter. Lately in transition, Jones has been playing a pseudo center back with 5 in the back. He also plays a little more forward when our fullbacks invert to a 6 to pair with him. Seems like tactically he's our most important player at this point. Would y'all agree or disagree? And then a comment, dude has been in form. Which I... Thoughts?
Yeah, so good question. And we talked about this a little bit, about some of the tactics about, our right backs pinching in and everything like that. I think he is a very important player on the field. I think, especially last night, he tends to hold on to the ball like one more touch more than what he needs.
Yes.
Man, it was driving me nuts last night. But I will say there were a lot of heavy legs. There were, heavy, super heavy touches by everybody. But yeah, he is, whoever plays in that role, whether it's him, Bronico, whoever, is super important, because they have to get the ball from the defense, turn, and then make a play, right? Mm-hmm. All good teams have a good 6. They're not the playmakers, but they are the person that's the pivot, right? If the pivot guy is playing sideways, playing backwards, if he's not getting in positions to receive the ball well, then you have to go outside. Then we're kicking it back and forth around the back. And sometimes that happens.
Mm-hmm.
I like Derek Jones, but I do have my criticisms of him. Is he in form? Yeah, okay. That is highly debatable, but I'm not saying that he hasn't been playing well. I'm just saying that sometimes he holds on to the ball too long, and sometimes he's not getting open like I want, and he's not playing the ball forward like I want. But
yeah,
so yeah.
I'd agree with that. I do. I'm glad you said the thing about him holding on to the ball for just like one or two more touches than you want, because I feel like he's so confident in his ability on the ball, which I respect.
Yes. Yeah.
But man, it scares the bejesus out of me sometimes. I'm like, just get rid of it, Derek. Like, just get rid of it. Give it to someone else. Stop.
Yeah, that's all I want him to do. Get the ball, turn, get it off his feet. He's kind of like to be a big man. Like, he glides really well. I love his height. I like him personally. Don't get me wrong. Just sometimes, man, just get open a little more and just one less touch. That's all I need from you. Yeah. One less touch, man.
Yep. Agreed. All right. So the next question, I believe, is also from Twitter. It's from Andy, Queen Futbolista, which is a fun name too.
Yeah.
Who are you cheering for in the UCL final?
Oh, it sure as hell ain't Man City, I'll tell you that. So it's Inter Milan, maybe all the way. Like, there's no way in hell I'm pulling for Man City to anybody but them.
This is one of those where, like, I really enjoy matches that have great importance that I have zero rooting interest in. I am perfectly fine not cheering for one team or the other in something like that. You know, like I have a 5-year-old daughter, and she'll always, like, whenever we have sports on, she says, "Who we cheering for?" Which, like, sometimes it's, you know, Charlotte, or it's UNC, or it's whoever. But like a lot of times I'm like, no one. We're just watching this because, like, I just want to sometimes just want to watch sports, and there's definitely times where sports can be way more fun when you don't have to worry about your team screwing it up. So just sit back and enjoy good sports.
That's right.
But if I had to pick one, I'd pick the same one. I'd pick him on too. So, all right. Yeah. Chris Tyler asks, if you could play for any team in the world, against any team in the world, in any stadium, what would you pick? What a question.
Yeah, really great question. Very easy for me to answer. It'd be Arsenal against Tottenham, playing at the Emirates and kicking the shit out of Spurs. I score 10 goals.
Let's see. Mine would be mine's gonna be stupid. I mean, mine's gonna be playing for Stoke City, of course, as I got the jersey on.
Yeah, I see that.
And in the good old
in the rain, is it
in the rain on a Tuesday night in the Bet 365, which is a terrible stadium name. It was much better when it was Britannia, even though it was a sponsor still, against Sunderland.
Okay.
How about that?
There we go.
I'm not gonna explain it. I'm just gonna stick with it and go with it.
I don't think you have to explain
it. All right. Jay, good friend Jay, asks, who is the most important? Wait, did we ask this last week? I think we asked this last week.
Oh yeah? I think
I'm pretty sure.
I think he tries to ask this every week.
I'll ask you again because you weren't on this one. So we had comments about this, but I'll ask you again. So his question was, who is the most important player for offensive production? Camille, Swiderski, Westwood, or Miram?
I think he has asked this one a couple of times, but I don't ever remember answering it. But anyway, so really good question, Jay. I'm not sure what you guys said last week. Man, this is a tough one because, like, I think Camille's been the most important.
Mm-hmm.
I think who needs to be the most important is Westwood. because again, I want us to work more through the middle. I want him to create more chances, either over the top or through those channels. I've been Petty's been out, but I've been looking for that video that we were promised by Charlotte FC, whereas the Westwood to Capetti combo, and I haven't seen that at all. And so I think he should be the most important, because out of the midfield that we have right now, he is our playmaker.
Agreed.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't think that's his best role, but it's either him or Brandt. So,
yeah. And I believe last week we both said Camille, but the point we made was that it's concerning that Capetti isn't even on the list. I mean, I know he's hurt right now, but you would think that your DP striker would be pretty important for offensive production, and he's not even on the list of the question. So we thought that was an interesting little.
Yeah, well, I look at production as passing, assists, setting up, creating things. So not necessarily just scoring goals. But he did. I mean, he had Swiderski in there, and I mean, Swiderski has played in the midfield. So, but yeah, I would still say Westwood needs to be the most important to jumpstart our chances, I guess.
Yep. All right, we'll hop into the next one from Jeff Eklund. What win feels better, a low-scoring 1-0 or a high-scoring 4-3 win?
Ooh, I feel like everybody loves like high-scoring games, but right now 1-0 games I think are better because our goal difference is horrible, and we need some clean sheets. So for me right now, I'll take 1-0 all day.
Feels better is an interesting way to say that, because I think my gut was going to be to say a 4-3, because I don't know if feels better is the right word, but it's a more exciting, especially at home. You know, if you're winning 4-3, unless you scored the first 4 and then are hanging on for dear life in the second half or something like that, in theory, it's probably like a late winner or, you know, something. It's just a lot to celebrate. It's a lot of fun. It's going to be a really exciting match. So I think in a lot of ways that feels more fun. Whereas, you know, I think you're totally right from a logical standings perspective. We need some of those 1-0 wins, but those can also be incredibly nerve-wracking when you have that one and we park the bus and throw 5 defenders back there, just hold on for dear life doesn't always feel great until the final whistle. So that's a good one. I like that one. All right. From Russell Varner, Rusty asks, how much longer before Petkovic's play forces the team to sign him from Crown Legacy to the first team?
Oh, yeah. So there are rules in place for Crown Legacy specific players, not players that Charlotte FC has signed and are playing in Crown Legacy. Mm-hmm. So Petrovic is one of those players that I think he can feature. I need to get some clarification, but I think he can feature twice. I could be wrong on that. Twice before there's a cap hit. So how long is it going to take? I don't know. Who does he replace? Who does he come in for? Keep in mind, we're still paying 2 players that are not even on the squad anymore.
Right.
So you got to offload that. There's the transfer window coming up. You know, is he good enough? And we've talked about raising our standards on this show quite a bit in the past. Mm-hmm. Is he good enough to come in and take someone's spot? Maybe. I don't know. So I hope he can continue to improve, but I don't know if that's now. I don't know if that's going to be in the off season. I want to see more of him in Legacy, because he hasn't been playing every single game and starting every single game. I think he had like a little bit of a knock. So I want to see a little more before I can just say, yeah, let's sign him, bring him up. It's easy to say that now because we're injury prone and everything. But again, that's against the cap hit. We do have some limitations, and we are paying for players not playing.
Right. No, absolutely. The point I was going to make is what you finished with is that I want to see more of him. I feel like, I think he's talented. I think he has a future
Mhm.
there, but I think we need to see way more of him down at that level before we get to that point of talking about him
Yeah,
coming up. So
he certainly has the potential.
yeah, absolutely. All right, Josh Truman. Speaking of the transfer window, what positions should we focus on in the next transfer window?
Playmaker number 10 and left back. I think left back is still a problem. Awful can't be playing left back every game. Joseph Mora, I don't think is the future left back for this team.
Yeah,
I don't like to see Nathan Burns sliding over.
right.
And I'd like to have somebody who can actually make some plays on that side. um, you know, so, but I think the number one priority for me, gotta have somebody in the middle that can create some stuff, who can dribble out of pressure, who's not afraid to take people on, but can get some things done. Somebody creative.
Totally agree. I'll start with that. I think that is the most glaring thing I see when I watch our matches is especially, and I feel like it's more, you mentioned this, how it slows the game down. I feel like it's more noticeable when we're down late and trying to come back and score a tying goal like we were on Wednesday. It's even more glaringly obvious how that lack of creativity affects us and
Mm-hmm.
how long it takes to get the ball moving forward and to find any kind of opportunities going forward. And it's because there's just not really any kind of playmaker there in the middle that can take that role. So I think that's huge. I was going to ask you though, do you feel like center back is at a point where you're not jumping to get somebody there?
I feel better now because you got Corujo back. Melanda's been solid. Bill is an option, and then I feel what I feel horrible for Bill. Like he's
Yeah,
had the worst luck.
yeah, he
He
has.
struggled. I was really excited about that signing, but the guy has just not had a good season at
No,
all. So, but it's good to have depth. We have Jan that's been playing, well, and so yeah, I feel a lot better now that Carujo is back. But again, we're still one injury away for this being in the same boat. So yeah.
mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the only other position that I had in my brain outside of what you said, as far as what I would be thinking about. So I just didn't know how you're feeling there. But I agree that
Yeah.
the other two are very important too. So, um, I'm gonna jump one question and come back to it because we have kind of those. We have a couple fun questions. I'll end on.
Mhm.
So Greg Fenwick asks if every team was allowed at least one All Star, who do you think would deserve it from our club?
So MLS just put out, vote for the All Star team, and I want our whole entire team to go. But as I'm looking at other players around the league, I'm like, do they really deserve it?
Right.
I think of, it sucks that Uzwiak has been injured. He got injured twice.
Yeah.
I feel like he would have been my kind of top person.
Yep.
There's Swiderski. Justin Miram has been in good form, but you have to take the whole entire season.
Right.
So it's tough, man. I just don't think. Uzwiak would have been my choice, but he's been out now. So
I think that's what's hard is when I was thinking about this too, is like if you're having to look at it from the whole season, or I guess, partial up to this point of the season and taking all that into account, there's not been one player who's been, whether it be because of injury or something else, like the consistent go-to key player for this team. It's had to, that roles had to move around a little bit because of, injury or something else, or Miriam wasn't with the team for the first chunk of the season. So there's guys in there that I think in moments have been that I would pick them as the all-star from our squad. But yeah, it's really hard because there just hasn't been that level of consistency to say like that's been the crucial player week in, week out for the team.
Yeah.
All right. Last non-fun question. Brian Duncan asks, where do you see us now in the playoff hunt? Do we make it or just miss out?
I think we make it. I think 6th or 7th is where we can land.
Mm-hmm.
We have some revenge games coming up soon. I'm looking kind of at that like DC United revenge.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, hell, half the conference gets in, so we got a good shot. But I hate our new playoff format. But yeah, I know. I think 6th or 7th is where we could realistically land.
Yeah, we're currently in 7th, and that it's gotten a little more spread out, but that chunk from like 5th to 11th or 12th is really, really tight. So there's still a lot to be played to kind of shuffle those things out. I mean, even last place, Inter Miami is 6 points below us, so it's not like there's a huge gap on the table. So there's a lot of shooting can happen. But I'm kind of with you. I don't see us landing anywhere higher than maybe 5th if we get on a really good run in the second half. But I kind of see that 5 through 7 space is where it seems like, assuming things progress this way, is where we end up landing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Paul Hagen asks, what is your holy grail of scavenger hunt finds?
Like actually what I found scavenging.
I have no idea. I'm just reading the question. You can interpret however you'd like to.
Yeah, so I think we've talked about this on the show. There's a book called The Secret, not the secret where you think nice thoughts and millions of dollars come to you. But it's called The Secret. It was written in the 80s. This guy wrote this book with clues and graphics in there to kind of tell you where these treasures are hidden. But he buried 12 boxes in state parks throughout the U.S. And inside is like this ceramic key thing, and if you find the key, you turn it in and you get a gem. And this is a real thing. Only 3, I think, have been found.
Where do you turn it in? Sorry, that's just I don't know why that jumped out to me. But where do you go?
Yeah, so the guy that wrote the book and buried the stuff, he passed away, but his family and the state still has it. So you basically mail it into them, or however that works, and then they invite you up to where they are and they present you with this thing. And there's been a couple episodes on Expedition Unknown about this. Okay. And one of the boxes is buried in Charleston, and they did an episode about it. They ended up not finding it, but I'm like, I think it's like right to the right of you guys. So I went there on vacation and I was like, I think it's like right. But you have to get a permit to dig. I mean, you can get a fine and get in a lot of trouble, or just, wait till midnight and you're wasted and just start digging holes all in the park. But, whatever.
We do not condone breaking the law in Charleston.
We do not condone.
That's right.
But yeah, there's one in Charleston. I think there's in Roanoke in North Carolina too. There's one in St. Augustine, San Francisco. They're all over the place. But only 3 have been found, and one of them was found on that show that I was just talking about. So anyway, that would be the one. That's the Holy Grail.
Okay, I know y'all had already talked about this, but I wasn't on the recording where y'all talked about this, so I feel like I need to ask a couple questions there. So,
Yeah.
That's a good one. I thought I was just waiting to see that this thing was made up, and you're telling me people actually found it, so it's not made up. That's pretty great. That'd be an
Yeah.
even
No.
better
Yeah.
thing to do is to write
Yeah.
this book and create this legend, and you're just like, nah, I didn't really bear anything, but good luck.
Oh, that'd
Go.
be such a jerk thing to do. Oh. No, I think there was one found. There was one found in Chicago, one found in Cleveland, and then the last one that was found a couple years ago, I think, was Boston. I
Okay.
think. And like I said, they're all in state parks. There's poems that go with each kind of graphic, and kind of gives you directions and hints and stuff like that. So
That's cool. That is
there
pretty
you
cool.
go. Yeah.
All right. I believe this is our final question, but Donnie Embleton asks, Dr. Emmett Brown just pulled up to your house in a DeLorean. By the way, I had a friend in high school. He's not going to listen to this. He doesn't care about this, but he was obsessed with DeLoreans. Like obsessed to a level that was like unhealthy, and like was trying to save up all his money to buy a DeLorean. He wanted one so bad. I think he still is a little bit wanting to get a DeLorean. But anyway, it's just I always think about him when I read this. All right. He's got enough juice in the flux capacitor to take you back to one moment in the history of Charlotte FC where you can change one thing. When would it be, and what would you change? I think I have my answer on this one, but I'll let you go first.
Oh boy. Let me see if I can answer this. I would go to Miami, and I would tell Anton Walks to not get on the jet ski. That would be what I would choose.
Yeah. That's a good one.
I can give you more of a lighthearted one, but
I was thinking mine went on the field, and it feels weird to follow it that one, but I think you're right. That's obviously huge in a lot of ways. I think if I was going to go, the first thing that jumped into my mind from an on-field perspective, let me make sure I get my dates and everything, or not dates, but timing right. But the Columbus continued match at the end of last season that had such huge playoff implications. I would tell Kalina to get his ass back in the goal. and not let a ball get lofted over his head.
I mean that
was
game really
massive.
did. Yeah, it was a massive moment. The only other thing that I could think of to maybe, I don't know if this is even more like lighthearted, but I would go back in time to when Zoran and the scouting team and Miguel are having a conversation about TT Ortiz.
I knew you were going to go there.
And bringing just an amazing number 10 to this team. I've made no bones about it. I thought signing TT Ortiz was a horrible idea. I would go back in time and say, hey, maybe don't sign him. Let's go get a real number 10, because that position has plagued us 2 seasons now. So that would be my other answer. Sorry, I was kind of Debbie Downer with the Anton Walks answer.
But no. I mean,
that's the first thing that popped in my head.
There's no need to apologize. I mean, I think you're totally right. I mean, as far as taking that question, I mean, that is absolutely should be number one for everyone. I would agree with that too. Yeah. So I think that's a great answer for it. Yeah. All right, I believe that's all of our questions on here. So I think before we run off into the weekend, we do have the next match is Saturday, and yet another road match. Speaking of Columbus, we travel up to Columbus to play the Crew. Do you have a score prediction you want to throw out?
I want to say maybe like 1-1. I think a draw would be good. I would like to win. We beat them at home, so to get points on the road against them would be good. But I think I think more realistically a draw.
I'm going to be unrealistically optimistic and say, let's just go big. I'm going to go 3-1 win. We're going to 3-1. Let's just throw it out into the universe and see what happens. Does the rational side of me agree with that? No, my rational side says 1-1 draw like you did. But no, I'm just going to go big out there and let's say 3-1 win.
Well, we talked about the other secret where you wish things and it happens. So
I'm channeling that book. I'm channeling that secret book to just put good things in the universe and hope they happen. You know, let's get Vargas one. Let's Sudesh get another one. I don't know. Maybe Miriam get back in the scoring sheet again. Just all three up in the front there. Have a good day.
I like it. Let's do it.
All right.
Put it out there and let's make it happen.
All right. Well, with that, we will sign off. Next week we'll be getting to talk about a home match again. I'm really excited to actually have a home match after this weekend coming up. So we'll get to talk about tailgating and fun things in the home match. But until then, we'll see you next time. Thanks, Matt.
See you guys.